We're happy to welcome you to our final international discussion in this season. Previous conference set a precedent. A huge amount of information was provided and gave an impulse to a lot of discussions all over the world. And the world woke up, indeed, and even more eye-opening event, the Worldwide Forum, Global Crisis, We Are People, We Want to Live, will take place soon on 7th of May this year.
Yes, and what moves us to do even more is the amount of climate catastrophes happening every day around the world. Let's take a look what climate catastrophes happened just in the past week. So we had a storm in Brazil, a hurricane in Hungary, tornado in Indonesia and Mexico. We had sandstorms in Iraq, United Arab Emirates, Lebanon, Saudi Arabia, and Jordan. We also experienced earthquakes in Bosnia and Herzegovina, in Greece, Poland, Indonesia, Cyprus, New Zealand, and Philippines. There were also floods in Spain, Brazil, Malaysia, Australia, Kazakhstan, Venezuela, Argentina, and Colombia. And also record heat waves were in India, where maximum temperatures in the month were the highest in the last 122 years.
Yes, and this is the monitoring only of the past week, and by far not all the disasters that have been recorded. So the climate change will be one of the main topics of the forum on 7th of May. And we also will look into the crimes against humanity and the horror of the consumerist format of society, such as, for example, modern collaborationism. So who is playing on the side of the enemy of humanity? The real cause of global climate change, who and why is hiding the truth from the people? Climate disasters and refugees, why does it affect everyone? Escalating social violence, slavery, and human trafficking. So now we have a few days left before the forum, and we can and you can do a lot in order to inform all people about this unique event. So we people write our history all together right now, and we invite you to be a part of it and become an informational partner. Please write us to the email info@creativesociety.com. So because our partners are people who stand for the truth and who stand for the whole humanity.
Thank you. And today we have guests who have already decided to speak the truth and to be the messengers. And let me introduce Scherezada López from Mexico. And she's a psychologist, she's a researcher, ethnologist, and anthropologist. And she also works as a therapist with the victims of violence. And we also have respected Grazian Milton D'souza, who is originally from India. Now he's living in Canada. And he's a human trafficking specialist in the New Beginning Foundation. And our guests today are actually experts in the field of human rights violation. And this is very important to know that with the increase of the climatic disasters, more and more people become vulnerable. The refugees are one of the most unprotected groups of people who often become victims of human trafficking and slavery. And considering the growing number of natural disasters, which are worsening of the global crisis, and it is important to talk about these topics, because many people think that human trafficking is a problem which is like far, far away from them, and it's not relating to them. But looking at the current situation, we must understand that it will affect everyone very soon. And today we have such an opportunity that all these experts are here with us. And we would like to ask the first question. Grazian, can you tell us more about it? What does it look like in reality right now?
See, to be very frank with you, reality is very bad. The face of reality in human trafficking is not what anyone would like to see. The brutality and the madness, the craziness that people go to one level just to fulfill someone's desire for pleasure, someone's desire for money, someone's desire to power. And it's to all sex. It's not only for females, it's not only for male, it's for everyone who exists. People have gone to a level where they have not even left animals part of this game. Sometimes it is such a shame to say that I'm a human because it is human who has created all this. It's really disgusting and it's really bad. No words can describe what I have seen and what I've gone through in this 11 to 12 years of me getting into each and individual cases. So, yeah.
The more important it is actually also, to hear this experience that you're sharing from the first account, because we don't get this information in the mainstream media because it's kind of taboo topics. And we have also here another specialist from Mexico, Scherezada. So you shared with us in the pre-call the statistics that alone just in Mexico, more than 90,000 people disappeared from beginning from the 2006. And this is only the official statistics. So just imagine an entire city or town is gone. So it is like the war, or even worse, because this happens unnoticed to the world public. And if we take the world statistic plus the unreported cases, then indeed, as you said, the no imagination will show the scale of this war against humanity indeed. And Scherezada, I would like to ask you, as a specialist, so how do you estimate the trends, the development now of human rights violations in near future, the next time?
Hola, muchas gracias. Sí, bueno,
Hello, thank you very much.
desgraciadamente, como mencionaba Milton,
Yes, unfortunately, as Milton has said, it is depressing and very painful to see this kind of data in statistics, because you know that it's just numbers, that it doesn't give us 100% information about what is really going on. There are many reported cases of people who are missing. In this case, there are all minors. It's a terrible trafficking of minors all over the world, the youngsters, and it's terrible that they are trafficking all around the world without being registered or accounted for. Here in Mexico, we have two large borders with so many migrants that we cannot even estimate the number of. In other words, if we want to count the specific number of people who cross or try to cross into Mexico, or who even die in Mexican territory, and their families cannot report them missing. In other words, they do not even know what eventually happened to their family member, whether he arrived to the US or not. He appears to be like a non-existent number. In other words, all migrants in this sense are invisible to the state. And by the word state, I mean not only Mexico, but all nation states. So speaking of statistics, yes, of course, we get the data on what has been officially registered, so to say. But it can give us even more horror if we just imagine all the people who are not registered. I do believe, based on all the data we have in possession, that what is called new slavery or what would
que lo
be
que se le llama la nueva
involuntary
esclavitud,
disappearance,
¿no?
because
O lo que sería
enforced
la
disappearance is when the
desaparición
state makes an effort to make a person
involuntaria,
disappear,
porque la
perhaps for
desaparición
political
forzada sí es
reasons.
cuando el
But
Estado
involuntary
tiene la intención de
disappearance
desaparecer a una persona, a lo
is
mejor por
such a
una cuestión política,
disappearance, you know,
pero la desaparición
even
involuntaria es la
when a
desaparición,
child, for
me refiero
example,
hasta de
at
un
the
menor
age of
de
under
4 años
4,
por trata sexual
he
o
was lost
laboral o por
for
órganos, ¿no?
trafficking, for
Hay
sex
diferentes tipos de
trafficking, or
trata.
labor trafficking, or organ
Literalmente se ha
trafficking.
ido a la alza.
There are various kinds of
Mucho se
human
pensó
trafficking,
que con la
unfortunately, and it
pandemia iba a bajar el
has
número
literally
y
increased
desgraciadamente no ha
dramatically
sido
lately.
así.
Many people thought it would
La
decrease with the
desaparición sigue
pandemic, but
y
unfortunately it
es un
didn't.
fenómeno que a nivel
Disappearances will
mundial
continue, and it's a
es
phenomenon that is
sumamente
extremely
grande,
serious
pues, o sea,
around the
es
globe.
como
It is literally like a
literalmente como
giant
un pulpo
octopus
gigante,
with
¿no? O sea,
many
con muchos
tentacles.
tentáculos. Le cortas
You
una
can cut off
y tiene
one of
todas las
them, but
demás,
it still has all
digamos,
the others, so to say.
papas, ¿no? Por
So
decirlo así.
it
Entonces,
applies to all
nos involucra a
countries.
todos los
Of
países.
course,
Claro que
there are
hay
countries where there are
países
more
donde
kidnappings,
hay
more
más
transit,
secuestro, más
more
tránsito,
trafficking.
¿no?
Mexico
El caso
is
de
one
México
of
es uno
them.
de ellos, o
And
sea,
it's because
precisamente
of
por estas
these
dos
two big,
fronteras,
large
insisto,
borders. We have
tenemos un
a
número de
very high
desaparición
number of
altísimo, pero también de
disappearances of
tránsito.
people, but it's also
En el
about
tema
transit.
de
In the
la
matter of
desaparición relacionada con
disappearances
la
related
trata,
to human
a las
trafficking,
personas
people
las
are
movilizan por
moved
todo
all
el
around
mundo,
the
¿no?
world.
Entonces,
So yes,
sí, por
of
supuesto que
course,
este
this phenomena
fenómeno
is
ha
growing
ido a
and
la
becoming
alza
more and
y se ha
more
ido
visible.
visibilizando
I
también,
think
¿no?
a
Yo
few
creo que hace
decades
unas
ago,
décadas se
people
hablaba de la
talked
trata
about
de
white
blancas, del
kidnappers as if the
secuestrador, como si
kidnappers were
estuviera un
overseas.
secuestrador ahí afuera de
Not
la
at all.
escuela.
It's a
Y
part of
no, esto
organized
es
crime.
parte del crimen
And
organizado.
that's what
Entonces,
have
eso
what
es lo
make
que ha
human
hecho que
trafficking
sea
literally something
literalmente
very
algo
big
muy grande,
that's
pues
even
incluso
hard to
difícil de
fight
combatir.
against right now.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Scherezada, for your input, and also to Grazian, because, this information both of you were saying, it's just heartbreaking. And but it's good that we are talking about it, because, people need to be informed that things like this are happening and this is going on in the world. And also another big problem is a global climate crisis, which is actually also, one of our biggest challenges that we as a humanity never faced before. And we are very, very badly informed about the reasons why the climate is actually drastically changing. And therefore, we cannot find solutions, because our priorities, as a society, they still lie on greed. They lie on strife for power. And we are actually, even additionally to all of this, we are wasting our time and human lives in the global conflicts, and in some inhumane conditions in the society, and where people actually, they're becoming something like a product in the supermarket. This is exactly what Grazian was talking about. And we would like to present to you actually a fragment from the previous conference about the real face of the consumerist format of our society today.
In this video, we had to change some words and expressions using milder terms. But we hope that the severity of the problems looming over our society will still be evident. In the 21st century, human civilization boasts about its high level of intellectual development and incredible technological achievements. At the same time, at least half the world's population do not receive the health service they need. 8 million deaths occur every year as a result of poor quality of medical care. Healthcare costs are so high that they drive about 100 million people into extreme poverty each year. Living below the poverty line leads to an increase in child labor. Nearly 1 child out of every 10 is forced to work. Often, this work involves hazardous machinery and poisonous fumes. The list of products produced by child slave labor includes gold and precious stones, coffee, cocoa, rice, baby products, and clothing. According to UN statistics alone, more than 40 million people are victims of modern slavery. Forced labor, child labor, forced marriage, debt bondage, human trafficking for illegal exploitation, and recruitment of children for armed conflict. In the consumeristic format of society, people have already surpassed wild animals in terms of cruelty. More and more often, children are used as live bombs. In Nigeria, criminals put an explosive on a girl with a baby in her arms. After years of warfare, the economic crisis and drought have caused famine in Afghanistan. There is a well-known case where a mother was forced to sell her little daughter for 400 euros to feed her other children. Today, more than 41 million people are one step to death from starvation, and about 811 million people are starving. Meanwhile, every year, more than 1 billion tons of food are thrown away, and unsold goods, including those produced by means of slave labor, are destroyed. The absurdity of consumer society is that a human himself has become a commodity. Annual income from human trafficking worldwide is $150 billion, which is the largest source of illicit profit in the world. There are 534 human trafficking flows registered in 148 countries. The number of detected child victims has tripled over the last 15 years. Victims of traffickers are mainly migrants and jobless people, as they are the most vulnerable. International treaties proclaim goals of ending poverty and slavery. But in the context of a mass consumption economy, the whole system is designed to protect private capital. In the consumerist format of society, money is more valuable than human life. Worldwide, more than 2 million children a year become victims of trafficking for all kinds of exploitation. In Mexico, 25% of all women who are victims of trafficking are girls under 18.
Please help. My husband threatens me. He beats me. He forces me to have sex with his friends who come here so he can make money. They started beating me, pouring alcohol on me, making me drink, pointing a gun at me, saying they would kill me and no one would ask about me, no one would know where I was. And they opened the window and said, "Jump or we will shoot you in the head."
And did you jump?
Yes.
From which floor?
I think it was the 5th floor.
In the consumerist format of society, people are ready to kill each other to satisfy ambitions for fun and profit. Illicit trafficking of human organs worldwide is estimated at $600 million a year. According to WHO statistics, 10,000 human organs are illegally transplanted every year. In Nigeria, special baby factories are set up on a massive scale, where children are bred like a livestock. Teenage girls are forcibly impregnated and coerced to bear their life commodity for sale.
But most of them are pregnant teenagers. They were held captive for one purpose, to force them to give birth. The kidnappers were making money on selling the babies. I got a call at 6 a.m. this morning saying that there were kidnappers at the school, that all our children had been kidnapped, including my daughter. We rushed there. It was confirmed that they had all been captured.
Are we human civilization if human life has no value on this planet? To change this, we all need to stop supporting the consumeristic format of society and unite in a common goal: to build the creative society.
Yeah, this is really hard to watch, and even harder if you really work with these cases. Grazian, you are the specialist in this field, and you dedicated your entire life to help people out of this situation. And you've seen a lot, indeed. But what was in your practice the most shocking? Something that you were thinking that these kind of things are not possible to happen in our so-called civilized world. Could you please share it?
The video that you showed, I have already been through it, and means I've not been through the video, but all the realistic facts, means, you know what I mean. It's like I have seen them live in action. The most shocking is, I don't know how can I say that, but earlier, as I just mentioned, that human is just getting worse. It's a disgusting breed uh, that lives on this planet Earth, and to suffice or to fulfill its needs or its pleasure, it can do anything, and it can fall up to a level where it can use a 3-month-old to fulfill its pleasure. The evil act that has shocked me to my soul is a small 3 months old getting raped. What else can I say? How bad is human being who is surviving on this planet?
Yeah, because we are now, we made such conditions in the society that actually contribute to these crimes, where many of these crimes are actually known to the police, to the international police, and organizations who fight them. So this is not something that we cannot get rid of it. It's just the conditions that we continue to support. So we will come back to the topic in the next topics and questions of our discussions, where we will discuss the solutions. But I think it's really important to understand that these are the conditions that make this possible, where we create the demand for these crimes.
Yes, Grazian, thank you so much. We are grateful that you are actually, talking about these things and saying it loud out, even though it is very, very unpleasant for me as a woman to even hear what you were just mentioning. And it's actually showing me that it's even much worse than I even thought, which I thought it's not possible after seeing that movie, which we just saw, but it is even worse than I thought.
Reality.
Yeah. This is really, really the reality, we live in. And there's absolutely, for me, we need to do something. We need to change the roots of this problem, and we actually need to make conditions where such crimes would be absolutely impossible. And there actually is a way, and we found this way. It's the change of the consumer format, this madness, this cruelty, this which you were just saying, to this creative society and unification, because there are a lot of actually good people out there who will never commit anything, those things you were mentioning. And these people are actually uniting already. They're starting to act. They do their best. They live by conscience, but these people are still divided. And, the statistics and the numbers, they actually grow much faster than the unification of people. And it should go the other way around. And I actually wanted to ask Scherezada, you work as a psychologist, and you also, every day you see a lot of people suffer and they become victims of, human trafficking, exploitation, and violence. But also, a lot is being done to help and even prevent these crimes. But actually what we see in reality is getting worse, and the statistics are growing. And Scherezada, can you please tell us, why this is happening? Can you share your experience?
Sí, claro. ¿Por qué sucede
Yes, of course.
fenómeno? Bueno,
Why is this phenomenon
justo
happening?
ahorita lo acaba de
Well,
mencionar.
Abika has just mentioned this fact
Justo
about the
el hecho
consumer
de la sociedad
society.
consumista.
Money is worth
El
much
dinero
more
vale
than
mucho más
human life.
que la vida de una persona.
That's the
Esa es la
reality
realidad
all
a
over the
nivel
world,
mundial,
even though
aunque
we
se nos
are
diga lo
told
contrario.
otherwise.
Y bueno,
I
pues es
believe that current
yo creo
slavery,
que la
the
esclavitud
present-day slavery,
actual,
which is
lo que
called
se le llama la
modern
esclavitud
slavery,
moderna,
is not a
no
phenomenon that
es un
had ceased
fenómeno
to
que haya
exist
dejado
in
de
humanity.
existir en la humanidad, ¿no? Digo, la
Slavery
esclavitud se
was
abolió,
sort of abolished
pero
in the world,
continuó.
but it
Y yo creo que
continued.
ahorita se ha
And I think it
exacerbado,
has now been
efectivamente, ha sido
exacerbated.
un fenómeno
Indeed, this
que ha
phenomenon
crecido.
is
Una de
proliferated.
las razones
It is
que se ha
increasing. One
podido
reason
más
that
o
has
menos
been more or less analyzed is
analizar,
the profit
pues es
from human trafficking.
justamente las ganancias
Just as
que
in the
da la
video
trata de personas.
we have seen girls and
Justo en el
boys
video
working
veíamos
in the fields.
niños trabajando en
Human
campos,
trafficking
¿no?
is not only
La
about
trata
sex
no nada más es
trafficking, but
sexual,
it
también
is
es
also
laboral, ¿sí?
labor trafficking.
Si
It is
nosotros
terrible, tough
observamos
labor.
lo que sería
If we look at what it used to be,
antiguamente lo que era
arms
el
trafficking or
tráfico de nada más,
drug
¿no? De armas o
trafficking,
de drogas, ¿no? Siguen
surely
existiendo,
both
obviamente,
of them
pero
still exist.
eran dos
But there
o
have been
son
two
dos negocios que han
and other
venido a
businesses
la
that
baja
have
al
declined,
subir la trata
such
de
as
personas.
human trafficking, but it
Si tú
has grown.
fabricas
If
un arma, ¿sí? Hay toda
If
una
you produce
infraestructura para
guns, there is a
fabricarla
whole
y la
infrastructure for
vendes.
its production
El
and
arma ya se fue,
sales.
¿sí?
Guns,
Ya
weapons
tuviste una
are
ganancia.
gone.
Si tú
You've already made a
siembras
profit once it is gone.
marihuana, no sé, la droga que
But
quieras,
if you
igual
grow
hay un
marijuana
trabajo
or any
previo,
other
¿sí?
drug,
Donde muchas veces está la trata
there
laboral
is
también,
job
por
that
supuesto.
precedes it
Y
anyway, where in
posteriormente
many
la vendes
cases
al
there is
consumidor, o
labor
sea, te
trafficking
quedas sin el
to
producto.
produce it.
La trata de
But then,
personas
of
no.
course, you sell
Tú
it to the
captas
consumer.
100 personas
In other words, you are
puede ser
left
trata
without the
sexual, puede
product.
ser
But in
incluso
the
hablemos de
case with
trata
human
sexual.
trafficking, it's
Los
another thing.
números
You
de la
capture
trata sexual
100 people,
son
possibly for human
verdaderamente
sexual
increíbles, ¿no?
purposes.
Son
Let's even
mujeres,
talk about
niñas
sex
que las
trafficking.
están muchas
The
veces
figures for
prostituyendo en una
sex
jornada
trade
de
are
un día
truly
donde nada más les
unbelievable.
permiten dormir
These are
4
women
horas,
and girls that often become
hasta con
prostitutes,
40,
working
50
all day
personas
long,
en un día.
where they
¿Sí?
are only
Es
allowed to
decir,
sleep for 4
el
hours, having
arma
up to
o la droga
40 or 50
se va,
clients
se vende
during
y
the
se va.
day. In
La
other
persona
words,
no,
guns and drugs go away from
Entonces,
you, they are sold and they're gone.
lo mismo
But a
pasa con la
human
trata
is
laboral,
not
¿no?
gone.
La
He
trata laboral también,
still
o sea, la
exists and
persona
continues
está
to be. The
justamente
same happens
esclavizada
to labor
y
trade.
trabaja y
In
produce
other
y
words,
produce y
humans are
produce y
simply
produce.
enslaved.
Entonces
They
no
work and
no hay
produce and
un
keep
final
producing.
llamémosle producto,
So
porque eso es
there
lo
is
que
no end to
convierte
this commodity because
capitalismo y esta esclavitud a las
this is what
personas, son los
capitalism and
productos nada
slavery
más, ¿no?
turns people
Es por eso
into.
que la
We
desaparición
are a
de este
commodity
tipo
and nothing more.
de delito,
That is why
pues
this type of
justamente
crime
desde
exists,
bebés,
starting from
como mencionaba
infants, as
Milton,
Milton has
digo,
mentioned,
incluso de verdad
which
es muy
really
doloroso, pero
hurts
desde bebés
deep to the heart.
hasta personas que son
Exactly starting
productivas, hasta
with
los
infants
50 años.
to
Ya una
people who
persona
are
de
of
70
productive age
ya no es
until they are
productiva
50.
precisamente, ¿no?
A
Entonces,
70-year-old person is not productive at all.
literalmente
So
la
literally,
alza
the
de la
increase in
trata de
human
personas, la
trafficking,
alza de este
increase
tipo
in
de
this type
delitos
of crime,
de desaparición
involuntary
involuntaria,
disappearances
pues
of
se debe
people
justo
are
al
related to the
engrandecimiento
increased profits
de la
that
riqueza
organized
que les
crime
está dando al
makes
crimen
beyond what is
organizado
used to
por
make
encima
from drug trade or
de lo que
weapon
antiguamente
trafficking.
era
It's the profit that is the
digamos, el
most
tráfico de
dangerous
drogas
thing.
y lo que era el tráfico de armas, ¿no?
Indeed,
Entonces, eso es lo que es
it brings them
justamente
major
lo
profits,
peligroso,
and
¿no?
that's the most
Las
dangerous thing.
ganancias.
Yes, indeed, and we still have demand for these crimes. That's why they're still, possible at any country, no matter is it a Western country or country at any other region. I would like also to ask the same question, Grazian. You have experience working also with international organizations, so there are so many efforts being put to combat all these crimes, including also humanitarian crisis and the hunger and poverty and so on and so on. but we don't see the success of this work of decades. So why? How do you think why it's still not succeeded?
Well, I would just like to, as I said it in the past conversations and before, we never started to fight for this cause. We always started to fight against this cause. We always thought of preventing things. We never stopped of ending things. Human slavery, sex trade, flesh trade, drugs. Do you think these are problems which are generated or created or in action just a couple of years ago? No. Flesh trade has been there since since BC or before that. Slavery has been there since humans have existed on this planet. No, we cannot stop this. We cannot end this because we have a different mindset of looking at this. We just change our glasses of education. We change our glasses, that is called society. We change our glasses of lifestyle and we look at the problem. The wealthy you are, the smaller the problem for you. The famous you are, the attractive the problem for you. We have just been looking at the problem from all different angles, but the problem is still the same. In fact, it has just increased more. And it's growing day by day. Now, the question is the government trying to stop it? No. If the government tries to stop it, how will the government come into power? Second question, is the organization trying to stop it? No. If the organization stops it, or if it comes to an end, how will the organization get money? The activists try to stop it. Some of them do. But then, end of the day, you can just hear the name of the activist because the activist is no more. Humans don't like to see anyone at peace. We go to church for confession with the belief that our sins are forgiven. But just right outside the church, there would be a beggar or a kid asking for a piece of bread. And what do? We just trash them away. Do you think your sins are forgiven? Or now your account is open to, add some new sins, some new fresh ones. The old ones are gone. It's our perception, it's our mindset that we think of the problem in the way we want to as per our convenience. These problems cannot come to an end. Sometimes some of these problems at a level act like a filter, but then that filter will tear off very soon. Just imagine a 8 to 9-year-old girl. She's been forced to get into prostitution to break her stubbornness she's been, she's been tortured. A 5-year-old from a healthy family, to make him look like a beggar, he's been unconscious and put some hot melted glass into his eyes. I have seen it live. How do these kind of people get so much courage and guts and the power, the will to do it? It's because of the system and people like us.
Well, basically, these crimes are being done by our hands, and even those who are unaware and just keep being ignorant and thinking that it's not of my concern, we're actually the same hands who are the part of the problem. But as you said, we need today a new perspective. So we need to change these glasses. We need to change our mindset. Stop looking, searching for someone to blame or someone who would solve these problems, because this is us and our responsibility to be the ones who is the part of the solution. And this is not the coincidence. It is actually the same, the purpose of our forum on 7th of May, why we called it Global Crisis. We are people and we want to live, because this is actually something that concerns, everyone will be affected by these problems.
I would just like to interrupt you. I would just like to interrupt you because I just got a point. Have you heard the story of Pablo Escobar? We also see it on Netflix, Amazon, and YouTube and everything. The father of all in the drug lord. He was the king. He was the god for everybody. And the government ran a very big mission, and Americans came in and everything and all that stuff. And did the drugs vanish from this planet? Did
No,
it
of course not.
disappear? Did it get destroyed from Mexico, from other neighboring countries? Every time the government takes action, it's for its own good, just to stay in power. That's it. There must be something that didn't work out between him, Escobar, and the government. And the thing is, government is always powerful. Escobar is gone. That's it. Nothing else. So the thing now, even in my cases, I have seen child trafficking. If the cops want to find a kid, they can find it. They have all kind of access to every single place. If I go to a restaurant and ask for a CCTV footage, they would not give me. If I ask a person or I start questioning, he would not answer me. But cops have all the accesses. They can access anywhere they want. Do you think our country is so poor that we can't have cameras installed everywhere? I'm not saying every 10 feet, but every 100, 200 meters, or every 1 kilometer, every 2 kilometers. Are we that poor? No, none of the country is that poor. In regards to cruelty, I have been to many of the government officials many times in their houses and their homes. Everyone has some or the other decorative, and they are very so proud owners of some stuffed animal skins. Someone likes to show off with their stuffed tiger or a leopard or a cheetah or something or the other. Where do they get this all from? If you want to stop all this, they should have destroyed everything.
all that you described, showing that the problem is a global problem, the systematic problem involving all sectors of our society. And people who are now watching our discussions ask themselves, so where is my place in the solution? How can I contribute to the solution? What can I do?
The simple thing is just to fight against these kind of problems in group and not individual. If you fight individually, the situation will be like me. If there is a group and everything comes to a stand, the government has to bend down for all this. A group of 2, a group of 5, those days are gone where Mahatma Gandhi and Nelson Mandela used to fight. Those days are gone. It's not the same generation anymore.
Yes, and you are absolutely right. This is not an individual fight, and because that's not going to work. It's exactly like you were mentioning before. And that's a reason why the movement, Creative Society started. And it is not one individual. Creative Society is actually already a huge platform. There are people who are joining it from 180 countries. There are like people all over the world who are actually sick and tired of this society we are living. It's exactly these problems you were talking about. There's so many good people who want the change. But exactly, if we don't create demand from the people themselves, then yes, government will not change anything. Of course, why would they change it? They probably have their money in it as well. And but if we all unite, if we all join together, people like you, us, Scherezada and other activists, and we create this like a spark, and this little spark will go to a flame, and all of the people around the globe will join, then there is absolutely no way that we will not succeed. We will succeed.
What we do today, we uniting millions of people, and there are already millions who act. Because indeed, what you, Grazian, and other specialists who are in the field direct in the front of these problems, they know that there is not enough people who would fight against it, because we need the humanity, billions, to stand up and to say, we are people, we want to live. And we know that there is only 1% who benefit from these crimes, but this is us who are dying, who are suffering, and who are really sick, of these problems. We want to live, and that's why we need to create this demand so that no one will stay ignorant, because this is really already affects everyone. And today, what we see also, what contributes to these problems, to these international crimes against people, this is actually the total poverty, the unemployment, lack of education, no perspectives for young people. But to be general, this is actually only because small group of people benefits from these crimes. This is just a business. And when we look at the solution, so let's have a look on the strategy of Creative Society and think of the implementation of 8 foundations of Creative Society on the legislative level, on constitution of each country. So what will this change? That will have the direct benefits for everyone across the globe, because we will have a stable economy without any, inflation or instability. We will have no wars, so we will not have no international conflicts where people die and some earn on it. So there will be a universal basic income with a high level of free education, with a high level of free healthcare. And this is only the little part of the benefits that everyone will have, because we as majority want to live in this world. We want to have these positive changes. And this is actually the result of the implementation of 8 foundations, when the majority of people says, yes, we want to have the Creative Society. So this is the strategy where we people, normal people, no matter of nationality, social status, or any other, borders that we have today, this is our demand. And I would like to ask Scherezada, what is your opinion? How will this perspective, so this future, change our mindset and also the situation that we discussed today?
Bueno, sí, como sociedad
Well,
civil,
yes,
definitivamente
as a
no
civil
ser indiferentes.
society,
No podemos, como
surely we
decía hace
cannot
un
be
momento
indifferent,
Milton, a
simply
lo mejor
can't.
él enunció
But
las
as
buenas
Milton has
personas
said
no pueden ir
just
contra
a
todo
couple of
este
minutes ago,
crimen organizado,
he
¿no?
was saying that good
Efectivamente,
people
yo creo que
cannot
sí,
go
es
against all
muy,
this
solo en las
organized
películas,
crime.
por decirlo así,
Indeed,
¿no?
I think the
La
same
persona y
way.
desmantela toda una
Only in
red.
movies one man can come
Efectivamente,
and
también
destroy
el
the whole
Estado,
criminal
todo lo
network.
que involucra al Estado, las
Indeed, the same
instituciones
thing is
estatales,
with the
la policía,
government. Think about the state,
militares,
government
etcétera. Por
institutions, the
supuesto que
police, the
tendrían
army, and
todo
so
para
on.
desmantelar
Of course, they have
lo que
everything
es el
to
crimen
eliminate
organizado en general,
organized
pero
crime in general.
el Estado, pues
But the
desgraciadamente
state,
está junto
unfortunately,
con este crimen
is
organizado que ya
joined
se le
with
llama
this
el
organized
subestado, ¿no?
crime,
O
with
sea, como que sí van de
criminals,
la mano,
which is
desgraciadamente.
already called
Aquí
sub-state.
viene la pregunta, ¿a quién buscamos,
In
no?
other
El
words,
Estado, ¿a quién busca?
unfortunately, they go hand to hand.
Aquí en México han habido casos, ¿no?
So question
Cuando ha habido un
arises, who are we
secuestro de
looking
una
for in the state? Who are we
menor o
looking
un
for?
menor
Here in Mexico, we
es
had
hijo o
cases
hija de
where
una persona
a
importante.
youngster
El
was
operativo es impresionante, ¿no?
kidnapped,
Y
who was a
localizan a
son
la
or a daughter
persona,
of
puede
an
ser incluso sin
official,
vida,
and
pero
they
la
were
localizan.
kidnapped, and they rescue operations.
Incluso aquí se
They
dio el
even
caso de la
find this
hija
person
de
lifeless,
Nelson
but they find him or
Vargas,
her
que
in
la
any
localizaron sin
case.
vida,
There was even a case
desgraciadamente.
with Nelson Vargas, his
Pero
daughter,
el punto
who
no, yo no estoy en
unfortunately
contra de que
was
se haya
found dead.
buscado a esta
I
chica
don't
de una
mind this,
manera
this girl was
eficaz.
searched for in an
El problema
effective
es
way,
a
but the
quién
problem
buscamos,
is,
¿no?
who
Si tú
are
eres
we
una
looking
persona
for? If
de
you are a
condiciones
person in a bad
económicas
economic
pobres,
situation or without
económicas, digamos,
plenty
sin
of
muchos recursos,
resources,
¿no? Digamos que no
let's
eres
say
una
you're not
persona
an
importante,
important
entonces para el
person,
Estado no
then
existes,
you
¿no?
don't
Y si
exist
eres
for the
migrante, pues en
government.
este caso todavía
And
peor.
if you're a migrant, well, in that
Eh,
case, it's even
En ese
worse.
sentido, sí estoy de
In a
acuerdo
sense,
que
yes, I do
el
agree
Estado
that the
tendría
state, the
todo,
government has
todo
everything to
para poder
end all these
desmantelar, pero
crimes. But the problem
el
is
problema es
that
que
organized crime
el
has
crimen
taken
organizado
over
sí
the
se ha
power.
adueñado de alguna
That
manera
sounds like an
de lo que
anecdote, a joke.
digamos,
Yes,
suena
it has
como
taken
de
over the
caricatura, pero
world
sí se ha adueñado del
in
mundo en
many
muchos sentidos.
various
¿Qué
ways.
podemos hacer? Así que las
What can we
personas
do
como
about
ustedes,
it?
como yo,
People like
pues
you,
primero que
like
nada,
me,
no
well,
ser
first of all,
indiferentes.
we
Hay
shouldn't
muchas
be
gentes en redes
indifferent.
sociales que
There are a
si
lot of
postean
people
a
on
un
social
menor
media
o una menor
who if
como
they see
desaparecida,
that
no les
a little
importa o
child is
pueden decir
missing
que es
or a
mentira
teenager, they
o
don't have a
pueden
damn
o
to it.
simplemente
Or they
hay
say it's a
indiferencia,
lie or
¿no?
just show
Algo habrá
indifference.
hecho esa
Or they
chica,
say
¿no?
the
Qué
girl
sé yo.
must have done
Lo
something,
más
or
importante,
whatever.
insisto, es hacer
I insist that
conciencia
the most
social
important
del
thing
problema
is
que
to
estamos
raise
viviendo
public
y
awareness
que
of
es
the
un
problem
problema
which we
que no
face.
le pasó a la
And it's not a
persona que está
problem that
enfrente
happened to one
porque se
person in
porta mal
front
y
of us
salió
because
de
they
noche o
misbehaved and went
porque
out at night.
sí, porque siempre hay una justificación
There
también de
is
parte
always an
de
excuse
lo
on
que
the part
son
of
las
what
instituciones del
are
Estado,
called public
donde cuando se
institutions.
reporta una
When a
persona
person is reported
desaparecida, muchas
missing,
veces se
they
dice,
often
ah, se
say,
fue con el
oh, he
novio
went out at
o
night with
a qué
her
se dedicaba,
boyfriend,
¿no?
or she
O
went
mataron a una
out.
persona,
Oh, what
habría
did
que
she
ver si
do
no
for a
se
living? They
dedicaba a
killed
vender drogas, o sea,
somebody.
siempre hay una
We
victimización
will check it
de
if he was
justamente de la
selling
víctima.
drugs. In
Entonces,
other words, there is always
creo que como
victimization
sociedad
and
tendríamos que tener
blaming.
más conciencia de eso
So I
y
think
tener
that
más
as a society, we need
empatía,
to be
¿sí?
more
En
aware of
cuanto
all
a
these things
una
and
persona
to be
desaparecida, una
less
persona
indifferent,
que
to take
asesinaron,
care
pues
more.
pensar que
As for a
también nos
person
puede
who
pasar a
has
nosotras, a
disappeared or a
nosotros, ¿no?
person
O
who
a
was
alguien
murdered,
cercano.
well, we
De
can
hecho,
think
aquí
that
en
it can
México tú
happen
mencionaste
to us
un
as
número
someone
que
close to
efectivamente
us. In
se habla ya
fact,
de cerca de
here in
90,000 personas
Mexico, we
desaparecidas.
mentioned a number that
Como
actually
decías, es una
talks about
comunidad ya y son las que
90,000
están
missing people. Can you
reportadas,
imagine? As you
insisto.
said, that's already a whole
Cada vez son más las
community. And I
personas
insist
que
it's
están
only those
cercanas
who
a
have been
nosotras y a
reported.
nosotros y que
There
sabemos
arise and
que
become
fueron
more and more
desaparecidas. O sea,
people who
ya es más
disappeared
común
according to
saber
our
de
knowledge.
personas
Actually,
cercanas, ¿no?
in
Entonces,
other words, it has now
hace
become more
falta
common to know
visibilizar
about people
este
who are
tipo de
around us.
programas como los que
That's
ustedes
why
están
we do
haciendo.
need
Me
programs
parecen
and
muy
platforms like the
importantes
one you have,
visibilizar lo que está
the one you
ocurriendo
organize. I think
para
that it's
hacer
very
conciencia en las
important
personas
to see what is happening, to increase people's awareness. And the more people are involved in being against this, in resisting it, the more it will help in the case of sex trafficking, for example. When we see this such a slogan, no customers, no trade, that's exactly how you can break it all down. How? By not having customers. If a girl is sold and forced into prostitution 40 to 50 times a day, what happens if those 40 to 50 people stop looking for a woman? I won't say that sex will work and sex work will end. I think it's going to be a different topic anyway, because people who use sex slaves are the ones who look for some perversions. So it's all about spreading the word. If you are not a client, we'll put an end to this all. Perhaps we should try to spread more. Anything that has to do with slavery, with torture of minors, of children. I insist, it's not just sex trafficking, it is labor trafficking too. So I think that in that sense, we could start to really make some changes. Gabika, you just mentioned that it's a series of things that are happening and changing, perhaps changing people's perceptions because they see the importance of those changes. So, yes, I do agree. I do agree with such a vision, and in this sense, in this regard, I congratulate you on this series of altruistic work that you are doing. This work is really important.
Thank you so much, Scherezada. And it's exactly like you said, that if there is no demand for something, then there is no problem, right? Then it's not happening. If there is no demand for sexual abuse, then there is no sexual abuse. There is no slavery and human trafficking and these things. So this is exactly how the roots of creative society work. That they will actually take out this demand and change, the society from the whole society, pretty much. Of course, changing the paradigm, it's not an easy task, but it's definitely, not impossible. It is definitely possible because we can see how people are already, waking up. People are ready for the change. They want to see the change in the world, and they are not just ready; they're already acting. And I can see there's literally a lot of good people who want this change. And friends, today our discussion actually became part of many important events in reaching out to people with topics that need to be prioritized, as we heard today. And so this is not our last discussion. We will continue connecting with people around the globe, and we will, bring this vital information for everyone. And thank you so much to both of you, Scherezada and Grazian, for being part of the solution already, for your active social position. And Grazian, I would like to ask you, what would be your message to people who need impulse to start acting?
Put your words into action. Don't try to be just a very good person in front of people. But if you really want to show your goodness, fight for the problem. If you try to fight against the problem, you're not going to solve it. Try to hit on the cause, not on the victim. Before I could end, I just want to say, the day we decide that we want to save someone, no matter what, is the day we win against all these problems. But if we just think that we talking can solve it, then we can talk for another 200 years. And the problem is still going to be the same. So think, act, and then glorify. Because the peace that you get when you save a kid or a human is something more than you get $100,000. I'm proud of what I did, and I will always be proud of what I have done in my past. I have my head up when I have to talk in front of my kids or tell my kids that this is what I did. In future, I don't know whether my son or my daughter does the same thing, but they have their conscience right that my father was not a wrong person. He not only made money, but he saved someone's life. I want everyone around the world to think how they can save someone's life. You don't have to take a bullet. You don't have to take a wound. But united we stand, and divided we fall is the policy. And that's what we have to follow. And I end this over here.
Thank you, Grazian, very much for your courage and for your example, because this is the examples that we need today in the society. And indeed, millions of people are starting to act, and this is the impulse that we need to understand that we want to live. It's not about hobby or the world vision. This is really the very need to live. And I would like also to ask Scherezada, could you please share your message to people who would like to act already, who want to know what to do?
Claro, muchas gracias a todo el equipo.
Thank you very much
esta
for the opportunity to speak,
difundir,
to spread the word, for the opportunity to have this exchange, not only between countries, but even between continents. I would like to ask people to be more sensitive to others' pain. Maybe we don't have time, let's say. I have my own life, I have a job, and I'm not going to go out and become a fighter like Grazian, whom I sincerely congratulate. I just ask not to be indifferent, not to condemn those people who have disappeared. This is a part of civil society with which it's very important to work, and above all, to do preventive work, even at home. Yes, we live in a very strong global crisis right now, and there is an even worse crisis coming in terms of its essence and the whole pandemic effect, social inequality, unemployment, and so on. So there will be even more delinquency and more crime. As parents, literally do more preventive work. They should do more preventive work with the children who are at home. And in general, as far as people are concerned, people should try to be more involved with what's going on and to keep your eyes open. Basically, that's what I would kindly ask of everyone, because I would encourage people to approach these subjects more. These subjects are painful, yes, but they exist. And we cannot just close our eyes as if they don't exist. Many thanks to Grazian for this work, and to you too, Antonina, Gabika, and the entire team behind the cameras. You are so professional. Thank you very much.
Thank you as well. Thank you for being with us today, for sharing your experience, your understandings, and being the example of people who already change the format of society, who really cares about other people. So this is the examples that we need today, indeed. And That was our last final discussion in this season, but with great pleasure, we await you in the new season after the forum. So you cannot miss this forum, dear friends, also who is watching now our broadcast, because this information, which will be presented there on 7th of May in more than 100 languages, so really your life depends on it. And this forum, Global Crisis, we are people, we want to live. It will give the new impulse for the new season of international discussions with experts, with scientists, socially active people, and everyone who would like to contribute in spreading this message. So this is not just exclusively for some group of people. This is really for you. You are the special person who needs to be here.
Thank you so much. And thank you, dear guests, for like a very, very strong message today for everyone. And thank you, Grazian, for saying that, you know, the day you decide to save life of someone else, that's the day actually, you know, all of us do it, then something changes in the world. And it's so true, because these words are very, very deep. And I think deeper than, you know, sometimes we can even imagine. And for me, I felt such a strong feeling when you said it, because it was like, you know, literally, we are people, we want to live. It's just not the phrase. It is, you know, coming into reality. So thank you so much. Thank you so much, Scherezada, as well, for your, you know, kind words and for your message, and for saying that people, you know, should change and not be selfish and start thinking about others, because that's really what will change the paradigm, which will change the society. So thank you so much. And so we also, dear viewers, we invite you to join the other live broadcasts and, you know, connect with us after it. And you can actually, you know, change something and do something now. You can do it simply. Just press the button, join us on the website of creativesociety.com and join the international team, you know, of real heroes of our time. And once again, we would like to highlight the opportunity. You can also join us as an informational partner. And, you know, independent of being some blogger, entrepreneur, NGO, media platform, or just, you know, individual. And it is, you know, your chance to contribute to a heroic event. And we will see each other on May 7th. And save the date and, you know, find a live broadcast in your language out of the 100 languages. It will be actually translated by volunteers into 100 languages, which is amazing. Stay tuned and see you after the forum in the first season of the international discussions on the Creative Society channel. Thank you.
Thank you.
Ciao.